This episode is brought to you by SD Sober Living. If you or someone you know needs a safe, supportive recovery home, then reach out to SD Sober Living at www.sdsoberliving.org or call 619-334-9869. That's 619-334-9869. Come get some Fuck Fentanyl and some San Diego recovery at SD Sober Living.
Don't look at me. Every day is so wonderful, and suddenly it's hard to breathe. Now and then I get insecure from all the pain. I'm so ashamed. I am beautiful, no matter what they say. Words can't bring me down. I am beautiful in every single way.
Yeah, Christina Aguilera. What a throwback right there.
Yeah, you know it.
I'm Luis Romero. I'm the Fuck Fentanyl guy. And this is the Fuck Fentanyl podcast. Today I got my really fucking awesome friend, Amy. How you doing?
I'm doing good. Thank you for having me on. Pretty nervous,
No, it's all
but
good.
I'm excited and I'm ready.
Hell yeah.
Thank you.
So let's point out this real fact real quick. So Amy's the youngest person to be on this podcast. How old are you?
I'm 21 years old.
Wow.
I just turned 21.
Wow, that's fucking awesome. And already in recovery.
Yeah.
So where are you from, Amy?
So I was born and raised in San Diego.
Oh, okay.
North County area is where I
North
grew
County?
up. Yeah.
Oh, what part of North County?
Vista, Oceanside.
Oh.
Well, I was born in Oceanside, raised in Vista, and I lived there all my life up to
Okay.
like 20. And then I moved up here for my recovery. And
Okay.
So I'm resigning here right now, and it's been pretty good for me lately. So
Do you feel like it helps you out a lot from getting out of the North County area?
definitely, yeah.
So you can just focus on yourself.
Yeah, I feel like I do have more good friends and influences here.
Yeah.
And it got me away from like trigger areas and like just, I don't know where, there's drugs everywhere, but
Right.
I came here to focus on my recovery and
Right.
get clean and get away from that. So I feel like I've set up a good foundation here for that, and
Awesome.
I like it. I go to meetings here, and like I have a good support system up here, and yeah, it's definitely helped me a lot, so.
That's so awesome. And how was your life like growing up?
My life, I'm going to be honest, I had a pretty good, really supportive family growing up.
Mm-hmm.
My family took well care of me,
Mm-hmm.
and I feel like at the time, I saw it more as them being too strict or too protective, and
Right.
but they were really supportive, and they still are very supportive. And I grew up with being the oldest.
Okay.
I have two little brothers.
Okay.
One's 2 years younger than me. He just turned 10.
Okay.
So yeah, I had a good childhood growing up. Obviously there was setbacks and things that happened that I feel like kind of shaped me into the person I am today, and the things that I've been through. But for the most part, I feel like my childhood was pretty good growing up.
Oh, nice.
There was something I went through that did kind of shake my childhood.
Okay.
So I was we had my uncle living with us, and he sexually assaulted me.
Oh my God!
Well,
really?
he molested me basically.
Okay.
And that was from the age of 8 to 10.
Oh my God.
So that really
reoccurring.
Yeah,
Oh,
reoccurring.
Jesus fucking Christ.
Yeah, we really trusted him, and that is where I feel like I started being more angry and like upset and just rebelling in a way. And that really should, like, you know, it happened from 8 to 10, you know, but the years after that is when it like really started to you know, kind of, because I start, you know, thankfully I did something about it. I told my parents and they were really supportive. And
at 10 years old?
Yeah, I was like 10, maybe turning 11 or 12. Yeah, turning 11. And like for a time there, I didn't really want to do anything about it because I was just scared. And like, you know, I loved my uncle. He was my uncle, and I didn't want anything to happen to him. I didn't want him to get in trouble. I didn't want my family going through stress or
you felt like it was a burden at the time.
That's how I felt. But by the time I think I was like, you know, entering middle school, I started to like, you know, go through puberty and like learn that, you know, that wasn't right, and it started to really kind of affect me and really bother me, the fact that you don't know, it could happen to other girls. And so
absolutely,
my family, I told them like I want to do something about it, and we did. And you know, that's when court started, and you know, trying to get a restraining order on him. And so that was a lot on me at the time.
Oh yeah,
especially because I felt like how I mentioned, like I felt like it was a burden. Like I didn't want to be. The reason like why I didn't say anything for so long is like I kind of, part of me knew that was wrong. Even at 8 years old, you know, I knew it didn't feel right. But I didn't want to like stress my family out or like, you know, stress them out or make it a problem. So I just kind of like dealt with it on my own. But yeah, around like 10 years old is when my little brother was born too. So that was a big reason why I kind of said something, because I didn't want anything to happen to him or for that guy to still be in our home. And, you know, so, but yeah, after that, it's like when I feel like I started I started experimenting with weed and like to
really? Right after all this?
Not right after, but like kind of like during the whole like court thing and like going to court and like, you know, seeing my family cry and like, you know, I started hanging out with like the rebellious kids at school and like, you know, I wasn't smoking weed every day, but it was like, what the heck, I'll try it. You know, you know, they tell me this will make me feel good. And like, I was hanging out with kids my age, you know, but they had older sisters or older brothers that like, smoked. And so, you know, I trusted them to like, you know,
you felt like they had your best interests at heart.
Yeah. Like, and I'm sure they didn't even know what they were doing either. You know, we were just like,
being kids.
I took some weed from my sister, you know, like, let's try it out. So,
yeah.
But after that, like once or twice thing, like I was like, damn, like this is good, you know, but I was still a kid. I couldn't handle it. So, you know, but I think I found my way of relief in like kind of codependency. Like I started like, this is how I felt. Like I felt like the only man that ever or guy that gave me attention was my uncle. I want to kind of get rid of that, wash that off, and kind of get attention from guys. And, you know, like 11, 12 years old, you know, that's not something I would want my cousin to be worried about or like my brother to be worried about, you know? So that's when I feel like I started to kind of, that little switch went on in my life where like I wanted to start growing up quick, you know, and like just started hiding secrets and like, you know, just being I just, you know, I'm still a kid, but I didn't want to be a kid, you know, I just wanted to like, you know,
grow up. Yeah.
I just wanted to grow up and like, you know, so I definitely wanted to fit in with crowds at school and like just, you know, be cool, you know.
Right. You wanted validation.
I wanted the validation, and like I didn't really like, you know, now I know that it was codependency, but at the time I just wanted to feel cool. I just wanted to have friends and like fit in, like no matter what it was, you know, like whether it was being a bad kid, troubled kid at school or, you know, getting straight A's, which was, you know, not what I was focused on. So it was easier to just get in trouble and like get that, you know. And so around this time too, my parents were, getting stressed out with me and like.
Did they try therapy with you?
Yes. Yeah. I started therapy and I was in therapy up to like 15 years old.
Okay.
Yeah. So it did help, but I think I used the therapy more instead of a way of like taking the tools that they would give me to, work on myself and be better.
Yeah.
I used it as a venting session, which is
I can't believe people do that.
Yeah, right. So instead of like going in and like coming out with, okay, this is what I'm gonna use, she told me to like, this would help me, the suggestions, I used it as, let me just tell her all the bad things I've been doing this week that I can't tell my parents.
Right.
And like, so but yeah, so that was middle school, and like my parents, they moved me schools, thinking maybe that will make it better. And you know what? It did for a while.
The geographical already?
Yeah. So that I noticed that has really helped me changing environments and like, because I feel like I can adapt good to my new environments.
Okay.
Now, but before, yeah, but like finding friends and like, anyways. Mm-hmm. So going to high school, just to kind of give a quick brief kind of.
Yeah, sure.
High school, I started like, really trying to fit in. High school is where I really wanted to fit in. And like, obviously you're around upperclassmen and like,
right.
And I don't know. At first I started off really good. I got enrolled in like Avid, like doing college class, like getting prepared for college.
So you did really well. Scholastically.
Yeah, my ninth grade year, I did want to do things differently, and like, I'm like, you know what, fresh start, and like, I joined a volleyball team.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so my mom was always like really encouraging with me and my brothers to be in sports, and like, middle school, I never wanted to do that, and like, I don't know. Freshman year, I was like, you know what? Let's do things different. Let's make them proud. Let's like feel good and I wanted to be like a cheerleader. I don't know, something. So,
I could still only see you be a cheerleader, 100%.
I never made it, but I made the volleyball team, and that's
cool too.
Yeah, that made me happy. I played volleyball for like 2 years.
Oh shit.
So yeah, that was a freshman, like the first half of my freshman year was a really good year.
Right.
And then things started to go kind of left, maybe not downhill yet, but left, because I started dating an upperclassman.
Oh, really?
So that's the thing about my story. I feel like it has a lot of downfalls due to needing validation and like wanting attention and just fitting in and like feeling good, like because I was insecure.
Of course.
And I started dating an upperclassman, and he was
what do you call it? Was he a senior?
He was a junior.
A junior, okay.
Yeah, but I was a freshman, so still a gap, you know? And he was, he happened to be like the dealer of the school, you know?
Oh, like, yeah, the type.
Smoke weed, and like, I didn't know it was my type until like, I don't know what it was.
Right.
Yeah, and so then, he introduced me to other friends of his, and I started getting into that crowd, and like, even though I couldn't, it wasn't of me. Like, if you saw me, like, you'd be like, you'd know right away, like, you don't belong in that crowd, Like, that's honestly how I feel, because I feel like I've always been sweet, and I've always been a kind person, but I feel like that really changed me, Like, I started, he introduced me more to, like, wax pens and, like, dabs. And, like, I started, like, sneaking out, dating him, so, like, it's just a whole change, I started I shouldn't have been doing those things, like
your parents were not
aware of it. And obviously they did not approve. Like, I had to hide it from them for a little while, which I feel really bad about.
Sorry, Mom and Dad.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Mom. I'm really sorry. I love you. But you know what? Like I said, like, all of those things that I've been through have shaped me into the person I am today.
Absolutely.
And I'm grateful, bad or good. But so that was high school. And then
it was just marijuana when you were in high school?
It was just marijuana, marijuana and like drinking here and there. And like that was up to my like sophomore year, end of sophomore year. I wasn't playing volleyball anymore. I wasn't I was
already
ditching
over
class. I was like, my parents were a little like just kind of scared for me at the time. They were already worried. They probably saw what it was going to lead to.
Yeah, they saw the path.
And so again, I was moved high schools, which I hated because obviously I had my friends, quote unquote friends in that high school. So when they moved me, I was upset, but I was like, you know what, let's make the best out of it. And
And you're still dating this guy?
Yeah, I was I was, and I was like keeping it a secret and like so yeah, man, I'm sorry. I feel bad. I put my parents through a lot, but and the reason they moved me too is because like the high school I was in, I wanted to go there, and it was really far from where I lived. But my dad, he said, if you want to go there and you're gonna do good, I will wake up every morning and I'll take you. And so once they started seeing the pattern, the slip ups continuously and stuff,
they're like, hey, we can't go out of our way for this school.
Exactly. So started going to one closer to home, and you know what, it went well there. And you know what, I ended up breaking up with that guy. I started hanging out with better people.
Good.
I was still smoking weed. I think junior and senior year was like I was like a stoner, I guess.
It was like an everyday occurrence.
Yeah, I created this like
celebrating 420.
There you go. I was like that was like a Cinco de Mayo to me.
That was just that just happened.
I created a reputation for myself that was like, oh yeah, that girl parties a lot. That girl, but it wasn't really me, but it was me at the time, you know, and. It started off fun. It started off, going to high school parties and drinking and having fun and like, getting invited to this party and like, it was fun at first. It was fun. It wasn't, I didn't see a problem in it.
Okay.
And
it was innocent.
It was innocent. Yeah. Like, obviously my parents knew though. They kind of, and so my mom was like already kind of bringing up rehab. Like, hey,
Jesus, already that's
rehab.
All.
Yeah, and so I was very like, Mom, you're just, it's not as bad as it looks. I'm just partying, I'm just having fun. It's what it's what the kids are doing now, like it's what we're doing. It's normal.
Right.
Yeah, I didn't see a problem in drinking or in smoking weed, or like so. So that was like. I was happy, I guess. I was. I thought I was happy. I had good. They were good friends, but obviously they were drinking, smoking, but they weren't like getting me in trouble. They were. I felt happy with the people I was friends with. But I was also kind of, in a way, hiding it from my parents that they started to kind of gain trust. And my grades were good. See, I was getting
so
good
you had a
grades.
Good surface going on.
Yeah, I got it. I'm like, okay, my grades are good. Yeah, my grades are good. I'm not talking back to my parents. I'm doing okay. It's okay. For me, it was okay for me to, drink and smoke behind their back. I'm not hurting anybody.
Right.
So, and obviously, I'd still have like, just like every teen and, child has arguments with their parents and, snickers. That's what was going on. And at the time I was very, I made a deal with myself that I'm going to move out as soon as I turn 18. I can't deal with this. I was just really ungrateful, now that I see it, I was just really ungrateful. And, my parents were just looking out for me, and so
they wanted your best interest.
Yeah. And so when my father found out that I was smoking weed, he was like, you need to get out of the house. But it was out of anger, I knew it was out of anger. And like,
he felt hurt.
He was just hurt. And he didn't mean it, it was just out of anger, because I've had fights like that with him before where he'd be like, by 18, I want you out of the house. And it was just out of anger. And, we'd always, talk about it after. And like, but that day, that, what, a lot of people say that weed isn't a bad thing or like soup, but for me it got to a point where I left my nest that I was being taken care of and like provided for, and like because I wanted to keep smoking weed. That now I see why it's a problem, and why my mom always told me it's a gateway drug. You're gonna you need, like when she would tell me like, because I wasn't doing, you know, I'm a opioid user. I became an opioid user, and I was using meth. But at the time, you know, I was just using weed and like maybe coke here and there at parties.
Yeah, like a little,
yeah. So, but I wasn't like, I wasn't like, it wasn't how it was a year ago for me, you know? It was just for fun.
It starts progress. It's progressive.
It progresses, yeah.
And like you're kind of pretty much sabotaging your future in small little ways.
Yeah.
You
Definitely.
know, by like saying, well, I'm gonna piss off my parents by smoking weed, but I'm gonna still do it.
Yeah, and like at this time, I could have been learning how to drive, like learning how to drive, getting my license, and those are things that I feel like I lost the opportunity to like do. No, I didn't lose them. I can still, you know, I'm still working on those now. But because
but at the time, you could have just got it out of the way.
Yeah, I could have got it out of the way. I had the support. I had the, you know. I had all of the support, you know? And so, so I started, when my dad found out, my parents found out I was smoking weed. They said, you know, if you're going to keep doing this, we don't want you here.
Yeah.
And obviously that should have been an easy decision for me to, I'm going to stay home, you know?
Right.
But I guess it was easier for me to leave. And so... by this time, I was already graduated from high school.
Okay.
So I was 18 already.
Okay.
And so
years old.
I packed a bag of clothes.
Oh, no, you packed your shit.
Yep, I took the...
Shit, dude. Hell yeah.
And I left, and I didn't come back. And they thought I was going to work, and I did go to work that day. But the day after...
Right after work.
I did not come back, man. And...
Wow.
So yeah, that day honestly is a day that I don't like to remember because I remember getting a call from my mom like a couple hours after she knows I get off work, and
she's worried about you.
She kind of, I could hear it in her voice. She's like, "Where are you?" And I was like, "I'm not coming back." And I was scared. Don't get me wrong, dude. Like I was really scared. I was like, I can't believe I'm doing this. Like
young 18-year-old girl.
Yeah, I was like, I'm 18. I'm an adult. You can't. And like there was a one time previous time, I was like maybe 16, where I tried to run away from home.
Oh, okay. Like it was
they picked up the phone, called the cops, and they found me like within an hour.
You ain't going nowhere.
Yep, exactly. So, you know, 18, I was like, I'm 18. You can't call.
Yeah,
so mean,
yeah. You're a little defiant.
Yeah. Yeah. So I put up a. I'm sorry.
Oh no. All I was gonna ask was where were we gonna go?
About that. So I didn't have a plan or anything. What'd you expect? I probably had like a few hundred, not even dollars in my account.
Hell yeah, dude.
So my plan was to couch surf. It was free. It was a night, God. You know, like
that's so awesome.
Yeah,
that's your plan.
That was my. Honestly, I didn't have a plan. I just knew that like,
can I chill at your house
as long as I could, as long as I had weed and like that was, and it's crazy. I don't know that I was thinking like that, but I was fine with it. That's why. Like I know weed is an addictive drug, and it is about, I'm sorry, like to who doesn't agree, but I agree. You know, like if I was, and you know, I wasn't willing to like.
It can be very it's not as harmful as maybe fentanyl or like methamphetamine, but like definitely if you have addictive personality and like marijuana can be definitely very harmful, and it can you know, like it's kind of even it can even be a little bit harder to give up because it is so socially acceptable here.
Yeah, exactly.
Especially here in Cali.
Yeah,
you know, it's a thing.
Yeah,
and like it can hold you back.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
Not, you know, and we're not speaking of on everyone's behalf. You know, like, hey, some people can be really successful and be happy, and they can indulge in weed, and it's fine, just like how people can drink like normally. You know, it is possible, but if you have trauma and you're have codependency and an addiction going on in your life, marijuana can be very harmful.
Yeah, I can definitely say now that I was an addict to it. And at the time, like my mom would say, you're addicted to it. I'd see addiction and the word addict as something.
Yeah.
Oh no, that's only if you're like on the streets,
right?
Or if
yeah.
you're smoking meth. You know, I saw it as the worst thing ever.
Yeah, like worst case scenario.
Yeah, exactly. And I didn't. I guess I wasn't looking at my life like from the reality of it. You know, I was just thinking of the fun and the moments it made me feel good.
Yeah.
And so
absolutely.
Yeah, that's how I spent the first 3 months. And
okay, house to house.
House to house. But you know, after a while, the friends that I had, they were like, "Hey, you know,
hey, what's up, man?
Yeah, like what's up with you know, what are you gonna do? You know?" And so you know, some of them were kind of, you know, getting ready to go to college.
Of course,
right. So they were kind of like, "Hey, you know, summer's ending. What are you gonna do?" And so I was living with a friend, and her mom was okay with it, but you know, I totally kind of bullshitted them.
Right.
I gave them a puppy dog story, you know, like my parents don't want me home, and they, you know, I want to go home, but I can't. The whole time the door was open for me, you know.
Yeah, you just weren't willing.
I just didn't want to
give up the weed.
Give up, not even just the weed, just the, you know, giving up. You know, I didn't want to follow rules, you know. I just wanted to do whatever the hell I wanted to do because I knew what was best for me, right?
Mm-hmm,
like my mom doesn't know what's best for me. People that birthed me don't know what's best for me. So yeah, that's how it was a couple months, and I did kind of get my shit together there.
Okay.
I was working and like I was doing good, and then I started living with my grandmother.
Okay.
That my family was a little more you know what, they were like, because when I was like those couple months that I was they didn't, you know, they would reach out to me, but they didn't really, they weren't they got to a point where they were just, you know what, she left, I have no control over her,
right,
she's gone. Like they were kind of just, so at this point they were like, you know what, at least be closer to our family. And
I see.
And
they just wanted a presence to know you're okay.
Yeah, exactly. Because, you know, so my grandma rented me a room.
Oh, okay.
In her house, and that's where I think I started to really take off with things I was doing.
Right.
You know, grandmas, my grandma, she was really, I wouldn't say she was okay with what I was doing, you know, coming home late, but my grandma's always spoiled me a lot. So
grandmas do that.
I could never do no wrong in her eyes, you know? So when I started living with her, and you know, I was still working and stuff, but so I met this guy on the streets.
Okay.
It was like another regular day going to work, and he was young like me, and like you know, he looked young, and and he was homeless, and so I felt bad seeing him, and like, you know, I was like, you know, how could he be homeless? Like he's so young, and like, so my intention was to help him. And so I did. I started talking to him, like, you know, how'd you become homeless? And like, you know, he was telling me what it happened, and like he mentioned fentanyl. He's like, I'm addicted to fentanyl, and I didn't know what that was at the time. Like I didn't know anything about it. And so we I started hanging out with him after work, and you know, I just wanted to help him, and like, you know, I felt like he didn't have friends, so I wanted to be there for him. And slowly I started to, like, you know, have feelings, and like, for him. And the time I feel like that we met, you know, I was like,
you felt like you could relate a lot to him.
Yeah, I felt like I could relate, just in the fact that like we both were on our own, so young, and like, you know, and I felt like I wanted to be loved, you know. I'm like, I can have a boyfriend now, like, you know. My parents were strict on like having, you know, they weren't strict, they were just wanted to meet the guy, and they wanted for them to be a good guy for me, you know.
Understandably,
and like,
especially after what happened to you when you were so young.
And like, obviously they wanted me to be influenced, right? And so I started dating this guy, and I thought I could help him, and you know, and
that's a thing too.
Yeah, I thought I could change him. Like, could change his addiction. I could take him away from that. And
slowly, he'll put down a fentanyl and he'll be the right man for me.
Green flag right there.
Yeah. Shit.
That's when the so thank you for that.
Yes. Anytime.
Yeah, so I in the time of in the process of trying to fix him, I dragged myself with him, I lost myself. And so I started to, he was on the streets. He had nowhere to take me. I couldn't bring him to my house because my aunt was, one of my aunts, my aunts lived with my grandmother. They didn't want a random guy there. Of course not. When you see him, you could tell he was.
Drugs, he was obviously homeless and on fentanyl.
Yeah. So.
So awesome.
And I was like,
I found a boyfriend.
Yeah. Where'd you meet? So we started dating, and I started slowly, giving up on work, not going to work.
Okay.
Spending all my money that I had saved up because I really wanted to save up for a car. Like, I was on a good path. I enrolled myself in college. Like,
oh no shit.
To me, that was
that's good.
A good goal that I accomplished because I didn't want to go to college after I left my parents' home. I was like, no, I'm 18. I can do what I want. I don't have to go to school. And so
it was like a burden. Yeah, more than anything.
But then when I moved to my grandmother's house, I think that there was a flick in my brain that I'm like, no, I wanna, I started to kind of feel my parents' pain and my family's pain of seeing their only daughter just leave at such a young age, especially knowing like I had nothing set up for myself, and so.
Did you had any aspirations of doing anything like with education, like? So
yes, so I did want to follow the steps of my mother into becoming a nurse.
Oh, I see.
Helping people. I've always wanted to be a counselor. That's something that I think it's because I started therapy for so long and I saw like
you have the experience.
Exactly. So that's always a counselor, what I wanted to be, or helping kids, or like a social worker, because I went through those a lot, especially with what happened to me as a kid. Right. And just, I didn't feel so alone with them, it was a kind of a embarrassment for me to say out loud that this person did this to me. So they made me feel like I wasn't alone, and they made me feel like a normal kid. Like I wasn't like some, like, not, but like that there was nothing wrong with me because of what I've been through, and so that's something that I wanted to give to others, so absolutely. So there was that. And so then when I started dating this guy and I got, love bombed and just, I thought I could change everything. And so then that's absolutely. I let everything go, and like I had no more money to go to the dispensary. That's where I was getting my weed. So my next option was, because like I'd see how he would get smoking fentanyl. Yeah. So for me, I was scared. I was like,
of course.
I still had fear. Like I was. Right. So I was introduced to methamphetamine.
No shit.
And
so did he have the meth on him, or was it just somebody else?
You know what? He was just smoking fentanyl, but we were hanging out with other people in the streets, and we both got introduced to that at the same time. Okay. So everything was, it was not good, but we were, getting along, like, this is fun, taking the train to like the beach and just smoke, me smoking my weed and like, just, we were in love, I got in love, and like, so we got introduced to methamphetamine. And
so that was the something that you both can do together and kind of bond. Maybe.
Yeah. Once I started smoking meth is when we kind of both started, like, because I didn't really enjoy hanging out on the streets, but until I started smoking meth,
it makes it more fun.
Did, like, yeah,
you could be anywhere. Be an adventure.
Exactly. So the first time I tried meth, I was hooked on it. Like, it was instant. Like, like I loved it. Like I was like, I want to do it every day. And like, And so then, we started to have DV going on, and like, you know, like, you know, with the highs comes the lows of smoking meth. And so you know, my anger, and like, I had a lot of, impulsive, you know, like not spasms, but you know, when you just tantrums, you know, it just started to get really ugly between us. But it also felt like he was like, at that point, I was very codependent, you know, like, so then when like, you know, I started doing meth, and then there was a day where I was curious about fentanyl, you know, so I gave it a try. Yeah. And I overdosed. Oh
my God, dude. Yeah. What? You like, OD'd the first time you did it.
Yep, exactly. And, you know, that should have been a scare for me.
That should have been a fucking flag.
You know? Yeah. And, yeah. And it did scare me.
They narcan you?
Yeah. God, yeah, like 4 times. 4 canisters? Yeah, and I guess some other thing had happened while I was like, I had torn my esophagus, so I had to get hospitalized. So I was, God damn. Yeah. So, yeah. So, but I won't lie. That day that I tried it, I did like it. I was like, oh, this feels good. Like, I was like, this is different than meth and weed. This is like crazy. Like, but I overdosed. So, you know, so I did.
Your first opiate, it was just hooked.
Yeah. And like, hooked. Yeah. And, so I went a couple months without using it and just smoking meth and just doing other random shit on the streets. Like, I thought, like, as long as I don't do that, I'm good, you know? Okay, and so then...
you gave fentanyl a try, you OD'd, and then they're like,
maybe not, you know? Yeah. But then my uncle passed away. Oh, shit. And during this time, like...
The same uncle that...
No, this was a different uncle. Okay. No. Not the same person. Okay. But this time I was already like, I was hanging out on the street. I was sleeping on the streets. Like, you know, shit. I had a home, but I chose the streets, you know, to be with this guy. And like, you know, I thought.
Was it like tent situation or?
Yes, tent, or like sometimes we just like, you know, deal with the cold and sleep behind a dumpster, or like, you know, or like
wherever it could get,
wherever there was a warm little spot I didn't, you know, or I'd, you know, go home and like grab blankets and bring them out, and like you know, my family wouldn't hear from me for weeks sometimes, you know. I always tried my best to like, especially on my not avoid them. Especially when I was on the streets, you know, because we lived in, you know, it was a small town.
Vista?
Yeah, so, you know, my brother would be driving around tonight. He'd see me and, like, drive right past me sometimes, you know? But, like, I'd always, like, my grandma, like, she was always super worried about me, and, like, she cared about me, you know? So, you know, people, you know, you'd hear left and right people, my family telling me, like, you need rehab. You need to leave this guy. You need to come home. Like, and my grandma was always, like, you know, she knew I needed it, but I think my grandma, she is a very sweet lady, and she was more like, you know, as long as you're okay, you know, every time I show up, she'd give me a burrito, like, she knew that. And then also, speaking of my uncle, which is her son, Noel, rest in peace, uncle, I love you.
R.I.P.
He was also in his addiction, and he had been dealing with it for like all his life.
Yeah.
And so I felt like she really understood me, my grandma, even though, like, you know, she was, you know, she was old school and like didn't believe in addiction, or, you know, probably doesn't, you know, but she understood what I was going through and knew that I was still a good person, you know, and like, even with my uncle, you know, I grew up seeing him in his addiction and, you know, starting fights and, you know, getting arrested at my grandma's house and just doing stupid things and getting hurt. And anyways, he died with a bottle in his hand. And
Jesus.
So after that, my family tried to get in contact with me because I would charge my phone whenever I could. And like, when they called me and told me that he had passed away, I was just in so much disbelief. Like, I had just saw him like the week before, and like, he also really understood me, like,
of course.
Once my family was kind of, I was, always a sweet Amy, oldest, the oldest grandchild. And, I was like, a sweet girl in their eyes. But when they started seeing me like turn into like this homeless girl and like doing meth and, skinny bones and, they were kind of like, whoa, like, and like he started to see that too. And even though he was going through it too, he'd try and help me out. Like, hey, your parents love you, maybe try rehab. And, like, so I had a lot of love for him because, I could, talk to him about what I was doing and not be judged or, like. So when he passed away, that really affected me. And like, I started just, so he overdosed on fentanyl. Like we later on found out. How he died. So, but I didn't know that before. Yeah, at the time. So,
it just was obvious he died from drugs.
From drugs, and because that's how I didn't see him, but that's what my grandma said, and that's what happened. So, so shortly after that, I did start doing fentanyl again, and I was, started little, slow dose, and like I had no idea what the heck I was doing. Yeah, ease my way into it, and like I just kind of saw it as an escape, escape, and like I was so hopeless, I was super hopeless. I felt like I was so codependent to this guy. I felt like he was my world. He was the only person. Like I feel like I was just it's okay. I feel like I was just completely, I wasn't me. I was his puppet. And I just feel like I was, and so I started doing fentanyl, and that's when
things went downhill.
Things went really downhill. And like, when I started doing it, like, I thought I could cheat my way out of being an addict. Like, I'm not going to be addicted to it. Like, maybe one here or there. No. Every day I'd be like, hey, can I have some more today? How about today? And, he would tell me, you're going to get addicted. Like, you don't want, and I'm like, no, I'm not. Like, I'm only taking.
So he saw the pattern.
He saw the pattern too. he was.
I think you're going to get strung out.
Yeah. And that's exactly what happened. And, so. Yeah, that's what happened, and my life just started into a tornado. And there was a time too where I was out on the streets, and I was arguing with him, and I was really high on meth, and I got hit by a car.
Oh, fuck, you did?
Yeah, I was like, honestly, like, I'm really surprised that I lived, like, only because like it was bad, like it was. Like, this is what I am told, because he was there to witness it.
You don't even recall it.
I don't, because I think, like, I don't even feel getting hit by a car. Like, I feel like that's how.
You just woke up.
I just woke up, and my ankle was like here, and my shoe was off. I had my scratches all over my back, and like my God. Yeah, it was a scary moment. And so that also that kind of halted my addiction, because I had to go home,
of course,
get taken care of, because I couldn't walk. And God, so my mother and my father were taking care of me and taking me to my appointments and, getting better. And I had also had MRSA spurts. How do you say it? Like, awaken, because I'm told that it's most likely because of the meth. That it's more related in meth users to have MRSA. So I was going through it, and like during
Jesus Christ.
I was like, so that really stopped. But
so in a way, it was kind of good that
it was
in the hospital, and then they found that.
Yeah, but then after, as soon as I think this happened a little before I started. Yeah, a few months before I started doing fentanyl, because no, I would have remembered detoxing off fentanyl.
Yeah, so absolutely. You remember those.
Yeah, that was before.
Yeah.
But then so then fast forward, my uncle passed away, and like that's when I started doing fentanyl, and like so yeah, there's definitely a lot of things like that I'm talking about right now, and just things pop up that I'm like, whoa, that should have been my rock bottom. This should have been my rock bottom. But you never know when you're gonna hit your rock bottom. It could be something as light as just being hungover, and you're like, you know what, I'm done with this, or getting hit with a car. So
that's a decent rock bottom right there.
So during all the what was going on with my uncle, having we had his memorial and all that, like I missed his burial because I was getting high. And so at the time, I could still be aware of like, why am I doing this? Like, this is not what my uncle would want. This is not what I'm not like that. I should have been there for his like the things, his fight. I did get to see him and say goodbye, but like just little things like that I know that now, and like the girl I was before, like as a little girl, that meant so much for me to be there, like so so that's when I started to get a little bit with the idea of, what, maybe I need to get clean or just stop or something, and I didn't really know much about recovery, and
but you had a desire.
I had a desire to at least stop, at least stop cold turkey or something, just go back to how I was living, but I couldn't. Like, even like if I tried, like I couldn't stay home. Like I had to be out on the street. Being on the streets, I feel like it also is addictive. Just being around the like
it's a lifestyle.
It's a lifestyle. Yeah, like just being around. I felt good being around people that also didn't care about like they're not they didn't care, but they didn't judge me. I felt at the time I felt like that's my family.
Right.
That's how I felt. Like and then like. That's and like I forgot about the family that really loved me, and
absolutely
at this time too, my family was not talking to me anymore. They were I was doing my thing and they were doing theirs, and it was like I never existed in their lives. I did like I know I I hurt them. I was always really aware of that, but. I just didn't care, I didn't care. As long as I was getting high and like around the people I wanted to be around or felt good around, I didn't care, And I looked terrible, dude. I was like a Walking Dead person.
Right.
I felt dead. I felt just so disconnected with everything. My spirituality, friends. I didn't care who saw me on the streets. I didn't care. I was a mess. Mm-hmm. And that was never me, That was never me. And I didn't, God was never a thing in my life. Only when I really needed him, only when I was like
bail
dope sick or bail me out of it, or going to jail, like for DV. I've never been I have now, but before, like I was like, wow, I'm going to jail. Like, it would be for like, domestic violence or like, one time it was because I was, I'm sure my parents felt dangerous around me.
Yeah.
And I don't know, man. I put them through a lot, and like, I hated them for putting me in there, but it did make me realize, even if it was just for the night that I was in there, it put something in my head that like, I don't want to do this my whole life,
Absolutely.
But, it was the same thing. I'd get out. I wasn't in there for that long, I'd be in there. The most I was in jail was probably like a week, but like in my addiction, after that, it was just, okay, I'm out. Mm-hmm. Now let's figure out a way to get not caught or just to chill more,
I'll do better at getting high.
Yeah, exactly. So that's how it was for a long time. Well, not a long time, but it was a long time. It was about 2 years that I kind of lived my life like that. Yeah. Now, knowing nothing about my family, not being involved in their life, it was like, I never thought I'd get to that point, and it was all about me and this guy and this drug, you know, this guy and this drug. If he doesn't get clean with me, I'm not going to do it. You know, it was, absolutely. Man, I didn't put myself first, you know?
Absolutely.
So, sorry.
You're good.
I'm sweating over here.
It's cool.
I didn't put myself first. I didn't think about putting myself first. I was just...
Your life revolved all around with fentanyl and being with this man.
Mm-hmm. Being with this man.
All or nothing.
Yeah. And I didn't care. Like, I knew I was slowly fucking myself up with, like, especially, like, smoking meth. Like, I feel like, I'm going to be honest. Fentanyl, I did, you know, I don't want to say I liked it, but, you know, I liked it, but I was already physically dependent on it.
Yes.
That I couldn't stop.
Yes.
With meth, I feel like it was always I was still physically dependent on it, but not, you know how you don't get withdrawals from going.
No, not typically.
Not typically, you know.
So, sleep a long time.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah.
Or, you know, you're on a rage, you know.
Right,
and
so that too.
I was just like, I knew like every time, and then you know what? So there was when was the first time I went to? So the first time that I went to rehab, honestly, I went because, yes, I was tired of the life I was living. I was really tired of it. Like, it wasn't in my mind, I want to get clean because I want a good life. It was because I was getting tired of not being able to eat when I wanted, not, you know, sleeping on the floor, or, you know, and it was crazy because I could have gone home, but I just couldn't, you know, like I needed something more. So I went into rehab, and it was also with the promise of like, he told me he would get clean. So I was like, yes, we're going to have a good life. You know?
It's so perfect.
Perfect. Perfect, you know? Yes, I'm finally going to, you know, all of this for something. I knew it.
Did he also go?
Nope.
No.
Nope. Nope, he did not.
Dang.
So
okay, so you went to treatment.
Yes, I went to treatment, and that's when I got my first taste of recovery, not going to meetings, but getting introduced to AA meetings. Yeah. And so I felt good. I felt good during those times, but it did it after I was out, you know, I just wasn't ready. And
that happens. That happens.
It happens, you know, and my second time, I forgot what made it, you know, what was the reason I went in, but I went, you know, but of course it wouldn't work after, but I would get these seeds planted in me, you know. I would always take something with me and I would remember it, you know. And it's like, you know, that saying of like, you know, your belly full of liquor, but your
head full of AA.
Head full of AA, you know. That's how it felt for me. Although I didn't understand, you know, the only times I had that taste of recovery was in rehabs.
Yes.
So it still did something to me.
I see.
And so by the third time, like, after the second time that I left rehab, I went all the way to Hemet for recovery.
Oh yeah, I remember you telling me this.
And I had left rehab. I just left. I didn't want to be there. I left. Okay. And I made my way down to San Diego. Okay. And I didn't tell my parents. I didn't tell anybody. And I was planning, you know, to get back into a rehab. Okay. You know, because this is where the, you know, my the insurance was that I go to that, you know, enlists me in it. So that was my plan, and I didn't want to worry my parents. But honestly, I had that in the back of my head to, hey, I'm gonna go on a little binge, you know, and then I'll go back to recovery, you know. I see. So I did, and I was you know how they say your stomping grounds?
Yeah.
So I made wow, what's that? City called Old Town.
Oh shit!
Old Town became my stomping grounds, and I started meeting people out there. And
God, really?
Yeah, and I
used to work in Old Town. Oh, God,
yeah, used to. Yeah, oh my God, it's crazy out there. And I relapsed back on fentanyl.
Yeah, I can see that.
During this time, I think I had already started like Suboxone and stuff.
Oh, okay.
But I was, you know, obviously I I didn't have my, you know, so I said, fuck it, I'm going to get high, you know?
Yeah.
And, so I started hanging, that binge lasted for like maybe a week or two, somewhere around there. Mm-hmm. And, during that week or two, I was also, I just started doing everything. I started doing meth. I started doing fentanyl and
whatever
just
you get
anything.
your hands on.
Yeah. And, I got arrested, and because I was being scandalous. I was being scandalous. I was high, and I didn't want to go back to jail. I was like, no. And like literally the next day I had told myself I'm gonna go to a rehab because I started shooting up meth, and that's something I never thought I'd do.
Oh yeah.
Never. And I started doing it, and I loved it. I liked it. And but at the same time that it scared me. I was like, no man, I can't do this to myself. Like, and I was like getting warts on my fingers, and like it was
it gets ugly.
I do it so much, and I think that's why I was throwing those scandalous. I was so high, and I got arrested, and I didn't want to get arrested, and I literally begged and pleaded the officers to like let me go. I was like, please, like, I'm gonna go to rehab tomorrow. I just got out of rehab, you know, telling them all they want to hear, and like, just please don't take me to jail, please. My mom's worried about me. Like, all of a sudden, my mom's worried about me. Someone's worried because I had not told my family anything. Like, they thought I was still in rehab, but I think they found out, you know, because I wasn't responding, and you know, so
they were putting it together.
Yeah, so they took me to McAllister's.
Oh shit.
McAllister's to get, it's like kind of like a medicine less like no like a straight detox, no medicine. Detox, It was just like, you know, and so it wasn't terrible because I was on meth and not fentanyl. Well, I was, but I was smoking more. I think because of the Suboxone, the fentanyl wasn't super addictive. You know? I think that's probably what it was, because I feel like I would have. Yeah, it was like kind of wasn't as harsh, the withdrawals.
I see.
But so yeah, I went there, and I was able to be let go the next morning if I you know, if I acted right, I guess, and if I was good.
Right.
So I put up, you know, I didn't put up an act, but I really wanted to get out of there, you know. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna behave and and not give them any trouble and just sleep it off. And the next day I was let go, and obviously I didn't go through with my plan. I was just getting high, and and honestly, I was getting high, shooting up, and I say that because I'm still in disbelief that I ever did that, you know, and like, I just it hurts me.
You're reading on it.
It hurts me for my family that they have to think about that, you know, like I love my family, and I just, now that I'm, you know, I'm clean. I just hit my 9 months.
9 months.
Yeah. I can now kind of put myself in their shoes and see, wow, like, you know, and, you know, I've had friends in recovery that relapse, and it hurts my heart, you know, it's like, so, that was, I started doing that, and then, a miracle happened. So I was hanging out with the, you know, people on the streets, and, this guy came through with a bike, and I'd never seen him. He was, you know, just another guy out there, you know, and he was like, hey, are you from Vista? And I was like, you know, I was in Old Town, so I was like, who knows me around here? No one. So I was kind of like, why? And he's like, your mom is looking for you. And I was like,
oh shit.
No, you're stop. Like, I was like tripping. I was tripping, and I was like, stop. Like, no, you're not. He's like, yes, you look like the picture she just showed me. And I'm like, what do you mean? Like, that's when I started to, you know, not freak out, but just kind of like, my mom, you know, she came looking for me, and he's like, yeah, she's over there. You know, I told her if I see you, but I've never seen you until now, and I think that's just crazy, you know. And I was like, so then there's another woman there, and she's like, here, use my phone and call your parents, call your mom. Like, and I didn't want to. I was like, no, I was gonna hide or just
of course.
And you know, I guess they were, you know, they did have a little bit of good intent for me, and they're like, call her, you know, you're too young, call her. And So I called my mom and right away, Mija, where are you? Please, I want to see you. And I just, I was like, okay, I broke my heart. And so I was dirty, man. I was wearing like, I had lost my clothes. I was
whatever you could find.
Whatever. So I was just wearing like, whatever shit I found on the floor. And so I was like embarrassed and like, gosh, I don't want to see her. But I still saw her, and like, she came with my aunt, who's also a big person that has really supported me in my recovery and been there and not left me, and like when I wasn't a good person in my addiction. And so they asked me if I want to go to rehab, and I was so strung out. I was like, no, this is like I had made a decision that this is what I want to do right now.
I see.
I can't get clean right now. I already tried it. Might as well party till I can't no more. That's how I felt.
Right.
But I also had that side of me like, Amy, no, don't do this, like please don't do this to yourself. And I was like, no, Mom, I don't. And I was really mean to my mom, and I wasn't, so
you were thinking clearly.
I was not thinking clearly, and I'm so glad I was kind of aware of that I wasn't. So then they called my father, and I'm a father's girl. I love my dad, and I feel like he's the only man that I'll be ever okay with getting his validation, and I say that in a good way because he's very supportive of me, and he has best interest in me.
Yeah.
So he calls me, and I haven't spoken to him in a while, and even though I was in rehab, he didn't want to talk to me because I had a pattern.
Yeah, he was hurt.
He was hurt. And so then he talks to me, and I was like, hi, and I just told him flat out, I don't want to go home anymore. I'm going to be out here, and this is what I want. Just leave me alone, please. Yeah. And in my head, I thought if I push them away, I can't hurt them. Right. They'll be okay. But obviously, like, it's going to hurt them more. And so then,
of course.
All he tells me is like, so you're going to leave again. You're going to leave me again. And, obviously he was talking about when I left home. And he's like, you're going to do this to us again. Yeah. And that kind of switched something in me. And I was like, gosh, man, like, I can't do this to him anymore. And so I got in the car and I told my mom, take me home. And she tried to take me to get into a rehab. Yeah. And it was too late. They had closed. But I stayed the night at their house. I'm not gonna lie and say I stayed clean. I did use, and I was So, but the next day, my mom brought me all the way back over here, and she got me into a rehab, and I've been clean ever since, and I'm really thankful because I felt like they had really gave up on me, and so I just decided to do things really different this time. I spent 3 months in rehab. Okay. Instead of just a month or whenever I felt ready. And
3 months, solid time.
It's a solid time. And, I feel like I really learned a lot, and I really try to soak everything in. Yeah. Because I didn't want to keep hurting them. And I was also tired of the relationship and the relationship that I was in, the relationship I had with myself, and the relationship I had with my family. So I really told myself I'm going to do it all or nothing. And thank God. And it had been my second time at that rehab. So, I had people there that also supported me, counselors, and that really wanted the best interest in me. And, so I stayed there for as long as I could. And 3 months was as long as I could. And I got into a outpatient program after that. Okay. And I got into a sober living that I'm really, really happy that I'm in because honestly, those girls have kept me clean. They're really helpful. I've never had that support in people that are not related to me, So so I'm really grateful, and I've been, I put it all or nothing. No more 1 foot in, 1 foot out, I got me a sponsor. She's great.
Oh yeah, I love her.
She's great. Yeah. Donna, I love you. Okay. And yeah, so I've been, and you know what? I still have my bumps, but you know what? I don't pick up no matter what. And hey, I made it through my 21st birthday without drinking.
Yeah.
And like,
Here, I'll give you one more. I'll give you one more of that. That deserves one.
So
fucking awesome.
Yeah, I've been July 14th, 2023 is my sobriety date. Wow. And I'm really thankful, and I have a long way to go, and but I'm happy with where I'm at. I'm happy with, I'm thankful for recovery. I'm thankful for AA, NA. I'm so thankful for it because it has shown me a new way, like
absolutely.
I still have a long way to go, like I said, but it gives me joy, So
absolutely.
Yeah, I'm really happy right now, and so
dude, thank you so much for coming on. I really fucking man, like if you didn't feel this, man, I mean, fuck, man, you have no goddamn soul. But like I really appreciate you coming on and telling your story, and I just admire you really giving this all just giving it all, man, like so young, like oh my god, dude, like when I was 20 years old in rehab, I was a piece of shit. Hey. And I loved it and I owned it.
Yeah.
So but seeing you, man, like thriving is fucking awesome. I really appreciate, your recovery and just man, thanks for, repping my brand as well.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I know you're really all about it.
Yeah, once I saw it, I was like, cuz you know what? Before I saw your brand, or maybe I've seen it, but you know what? I was always very ashamed of being an opioid user.
Yeah.
And not that I'm proud of it, but
of course.
You know what? It's not something I should be ashamed of. Mm-hmm. And your brand really helps me be okay with what I've been through, Absolutely. And it just, like in your brand, recovery, and the words that you just told me, it makes me feel, you know what? I'm not a bad person for what I did in my addiction, or for what I put the people that I love through, And so, yeah, it helps. I really fuck with your brand. So,
well, thank you so much. Yeah. Fuck fentanyl.
Yeah.
I really appreciate you again, Amy. Thank you so much.
Thank you too. Thank you.
All right. Goodbye, everyone.